and Shar. We got our music team over there today. And welcome everyone to Unity Church of Ames today, to this New Thought Caring community that we're in here in Ames, Iowa. I'm Steve Newell. I'm your platform assistant. And so I'll be the, what do they call it, the master of ceremonies through the service today. So to start out with here, I want to mention old coffee and treats after the service in the community room for anyone. Of course, you're all invited to that. The really good treats back there. And the coffee, well, it passes anyway. And then on to the...
And have a good week.
Well, that kind of settles that old one about the chicken or the egg. So, yeah, thank you. That's actually good. All right. So, now we're on to opening prayer. So, get yourself comfortably aligned, your chakras, get yourself comfortably situated, feet planted squarely on the floor, kind of thing like that. Let's take a big deep breath just once and just kind of let it all out. All right. Thank you, God. Good Almighty Source. Thank you. Thank you for this day, for this caring community of wonderful Unity Church students. Thank you for your unfailing, unconditional, abiding love. The center of all things, good, omnipotent, all-knowing. Give thanks to you and recognize the great lesson of the way shower. For to make this community to be as the kingdom of heaven, to be as that caring place of fellowship and love for one another. That is the goal. Do not merely speak flowery words, we walk the walk, as did the way shower before us. It is no special secret, it is no magic paragraph recited, but it is consciousness. I am responsible and I accept responsibility for my own thoughts and my choice of what I will do with my thought action. And in that awareness, I am so grateful for the opportunity to prove the truth that sets myself free and that frees me to express that greater good in my fellowship with my fellow souls. Thank you, Almighty Source, for this abundant and wonderful presence of love and joy. Amen, and so it is. Amen, and so let it be. All right, be seated. All right. All right, well, that's a lot of energy there today. Wonderful. And now shall we go on to what we do as a kind of prayerful collective intention, as an affirmation. It's kind of unity worldwide in terms of this great cosmic echo that this one is. Shall we say this together then? The Unity Worldwide Ministries Foundation Statement. Together, please. There is one presence and one power in the universe and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. Very good, thank you. And then we have our own Unity Church of Ames affirmation. Shall we say that together, please? Through the Christ Spirit in us, we create a better church and a better world. So be it. All right, thank you. And now we are right on. And now it's time for the daily word reading with Sherry. Here it is.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
This is a good reading. It's about prosperity. As I give, I receive. I may have noticed that when I feel grateful or happy, I also feel prosperous, regardless of my finances. This is because prosperity comes from within. I build this attitude by looking for the good in every encounter. If I cannot immediately see the good, I ask Spirit to show it to me. For example, in the midst of a challenging meeting or a difficult conversation, I ask for the good to be revealed. I tell myself not to be reactive when I calmly wait for divine guidance. That may show itself as a feeling of lightness, humor, or compassion. This is the prosperity in action. From within the sanctuary of my being, the light shines within me, and true treasure is found as inner joy and peace. As I give of myself, so I receive. The scripture comes from Matthew, chapter 23, verse 17. For which is greater, the gold or the sanctuary that has made the gold sacred? Word for today, prosperity.
Okay, thank you, Sherry Bradley, for the daily word. And now we're on to the lesson with Rev Deb. Come on up. Thank you all.
You are a hoot. Behind door number 2. Okay, so I think somebody whispered to me that we are now at 1500. So let's round It really did take a village, and my heartfelt thanks, the heartfelt thanks of all of us to the garage sale guru ladies, Heather and Mary. Let's give them a special. I definitely saw patience in action. Mary, I just have to confess, I don't know how many times I brought something up and Mary said we weren't going to put that in the garage sale, and she was so patient with me. So I really have to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Apparently I can't tell what's dumpster trash and what's garage sale material, you know, so that's all right. It's all good. It's just patience, right? Patience, patience, patience. Patience, patience, patience. Patience, patience, patience. Depending on how you say it, it sounds like a prayer, a mockery, or a lament. So before we get to the spiritual aspects of patience, I'm getting a sound check here of some kind. Okay. I'm very echoey, yes. Let's get to the human side of it, right? We've all lived the human side of patience. Is that a little better? No? You did? Okay. Does it need to be turned down on the soundboard? No.
Okay, patience.
Patience, that's right. Once again, I live the talk, but right up here on the soundboard, they got like that. Okay. Should I use that one? Okay. All right. We'll try this. Better? Okay. So here we go. Patience is a virtue. Possess it if you can. Seldom in a woman, never in a man. Patience? Well, I know. I mean, this is the human side of patience, Jerry. Be patient with me. Patience is the ability to count down before you blast off. The only running I do is out of patience. Lord, please give me patience, because if you give me strength, I'll need bail money too. These are all the things I found on patience, the human side of patience. Patience is the ability to keep your motor idling when you feel like stripping your gears. Patience is not about how long you can wait, but how you behave while waiting. Isn't that interesting? Remember Reverend Robin Plant? She was here for a retreat. She keeps a bottle of bubbles in her car, and when she's stuck on the California freeways, she opens her sunroof, and starts blowing bubbles at the top. It lifts everybody's mood and creates patience. My personal favorite is, God grant me patience and grant it fast. Now, have you ever prayed for patience? I don't advise it. Because what happened to me is when you pray for patience, it seems like you get endless opportunities to practice. So praying for patience is a great illustration of that. Be careful what you pray for, you might get it. Practicing patience, it is a practice. I'm dancing with this thing and I'm trying not to get tangled up in it. Okay. And while I do know that the universe has a certain amount of randomness to it, it has free will, just like we do, it really is true that how I approach my day and what mindset I bring to it has a lot to do with how much patience I might need to have that day, how much steadfastness, forbearance, and strength. Okay, we all have some issue, right? We have some issue that tries our patience, whether it's trivial or profound. We have some issue, some event, some person, some situation that tries our patience. And here's the deal. If you don't, come see me after the service and we'll see what we can do to take care of that. Because patience seems to be a necessary fruit of the Spirit. It's something that we seem to deal with daily. When you can't sleep, when your body just won't do what you want it to do, when your health is challenged, you become ill. You know, when you're in the hospital, well, that's when your patience is really challenged, and there's a reason why you're called a patient, right? Small children, the elderly, mechanical things that don't work, everything calls forth patience, a gift of the Spirit. So here's the deal. Let's kick it up a notch and see what a little bit higher consciousness would say to us about patience. Because when we do exercise patience, there are rewards. What are the fruits of patience? Well, a Dutch proverb says, "A handful of patience is worth more than a bushel of brains." St. Francis de Sales, have patience with all things, but first of all with yourself. Have patience with all things, but first of all with yourself. And our friend Emerson says, adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. And then from David Allen, patience is the calm acceptance that things can happen in a different order than the one you have in mind. Right? I especially like that last one. The calm acceptance that things can happen in a different order than the one that you have in mind. I think we practiced that at the garage sale a lot. I saw lots of people accommodating changes and so forth. Now, my dad called me recently because he wanted a bit of pastoral care from his daughter, the Unity minister. One of the things that really tries the patience of my dad is being ripped off by auto repair people. Okay? That really tries his patience. But here's the deal. He has always fixed his own cars. When I was a kid, brakes, U-joints, he earned the name Gearhead Bill because he just fixes his own cars. And he loves doing it because he knows it's done right. And it doesn't cost him anything. So when he goes to the auto repair shop, any amount they're charging him, as far as he's concerned, is a ripoff, right? And the other piece of this is at 88, he can't fix his own cars anymore. So it's very hard for him to be patient with this whole business of fixing his cars. And he tends to approach the repair folks loaded for bear, just assuming from the get-go that they're going to rip him off and they're not going to do it right. So he calls his daughter, the Unity minister. And he says, I know this isn't working too well. And I know I have to think about it differently. And he's had enough unity to realize that how he thinks about it might have an impact on what happens. Go, Dad. Well, what was wrong with the trunk latch was broken. And he really wanted them to consider fixing it rather than just replacing it. And I said, well, let's practice just asking for what you want. Just asking. Instead of telling them how they're doing it wrong, let's just ask. And not demand. So we practiced. And then I said, and when you ask, just wait patiently for them to consider your request. So wait a moment, give them a chance to respond. Because here's the deal. They want to keep you as a customer. They want to keep you happy. They want you to walk out of there satisfied. And then we prayed about it. And how did it work out? Well, they actually fixed the trunk latch rather than replacing it. They gave him a bunch of coupons and rebates to help him come back, because he loves those. And he walked out a happy camper, because the patients allowed him to have respect for them and them to have respect for him. And then he called me and said, thank you. So, we began this whole series with a passage from Galatians. And I was going to read it out of the Bible, but since I have to hold this, I'm just going to read it from here. And we sang this. By contrast, this is from Galatians, the gifts of the Spirit. It's from Paul's letter to the Galatians. And the paragraph right above it is all about what we do and the mess we get in when we come to things with our human consciousness alone. And so this Galatians 5:22, Paul is illustrating, by contrast, the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There's no law against such things. And those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also be guided by the Spirit. Let us not become conceited, competing against one another, or envying one another. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, compassion, sign me up. So here we are today. Patience, patience, patience. It's a holy trinity of patience. First one, patience with yourself. Right? Give yourself adequate time to do things. Patience with yourself. Time to figure it out, to understand. The second part of the Trinity, patience with the other. Patience with each other. Allowing time for them to get it, for them to be in the process that they're in. Patience with one another. And the third part of the Trinity is patience with what is. Patience with what is there. Patience with how it shows up. Patience with things that don't work. Patience with electronics. Patience, because the gifts of the Spirit are love, joy, and peace. And if I invite this gift of patience also, it really takes that whole Trinity, patience with myself, patience with you, and patience with the situation, to realize the gifts of patience. Because here's the deal, I'm the one who gets to decide whether or not I'm going to be patient with myself when I fall short of my own expectations. I'm the one who decides if I'm patient with you. I'm the one who decides if I'm going to be patient with the circumstances. I invite the side effects then of kindness, generosity, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. All of those once I choose to exercise patience. You know, I may never know what is driving a particular situation or a person that makes me impatient. I may never know what elicits impatience in me from someone else. You know, something about them triggers memories or some reaction that I don't know. I don't understand. I may never know what it is in this situation in particular that really tries my patience. But what I do know is if I hold to that holy trinity of patience, if I hold the prayer that when there seems to be no way, God always opens a way. When there seems to be no way, God always opens the way. That's the gift of patience. Now that we're elevating our consciousness, let's hear some inspirational words about patience. And inspirational comes from the word in spirit, right? Inspire. When I am inspired, I am in spirit. So what are those words? Well, here's Harriet Tubman. Now, my Lord, there's a woman who had to be patient. Here's what Harriet Tubman says. Every great dream begins with a dreamer. Always remember you have within you the strength, the patience, and the passion to reach for the stars to change the world. Wow. Thank you, Harriet. From the poet, Rainier Maria Rilke. Be patient toward all that is unsolved in your heart. And try to love the questions themselves. Do not now seek the answers which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything. Live the questions. And from our Taoist friends and Lao Tzu, I have just 3 things to teach. Patience, simplicity, and compassion. These 3 are your greatest treasures. Patience, simplicity, and compassion. Eknath Eswaran, a Hindu mystic. Patience cannot be acquired overnight. Have you noticed? It is just like building up a muscle. Every day you need to work on it. And then from Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God, I tell you this, compassion never ends. Love never stops, and patience never runs out in God's world. Only in the world of man is goodness limited. In my world, goodness is endless. Saint Teresa of Avila, a mystic. Let nothing disturb thee, let nothing dismay thee. All things pass. God never changes. Patience attains all that it strives for. He who finds God finds that he lacks nothing. God alone suffices. That brings us to a much higher consciousness. So we engage in life, living our questions with the faith that whatever it is we need to know will be revealed at exactly the moment we need it. You know, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Everything we need will be provided when we need it. How often do we stress out because we don't accurately estimate how long something's going to take? Do you do that? Right? Yes. And I try to put 30 pounds of stuff in a 20-pound sack, right? How many times do I go past that parameter? Things go past the deadline I've set for myself, and then what do I feel? Impatient, stressed out, mad at myself, right? And then we get this unnecessary emotional charge. And for some of us, it's just a small nuisance, but sometimes it can be a big nuisance. And we start feeling like I never have enough time, I'm always running behind, I have to play catch up all the time. What we're not realizing is if we don't put ourselves in that predicament and we allow things to be in God's time, then we have a little bit of that divine nonchalance that says, okay, I surrender to divine order, and I will remain balanced and calm and patient, all things in divine order. So the next time that you're tempted to do that, right? To not give yourself enough time, to not cut yourself enough slack, take a step back and realize that you can choose to experience the gifts of the Spirit. And let the stress drop away, knowing that everything is in divine order. And then you'll be practicing the Holy Trinity of patience. Patience with yourself, patience with the other, and patience with what is. I remember that everything is happening in its perfect timing, and I wait patiently for the manifestation of divine order. And so it is. So let's take that patiently into meditation. And we're going to sing, I Send My Patience Over the Mountain, because our culture needs it, just as we do. I send my patience over the mountains. I send my patience over the seas. I send my patience into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my peace over the mountains. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heavens, and it returns to me. I want you to just begin to breathe. Close your eyes. Close your eyes and feel your feet grounded on the floor, connected to the earth. Let your attention drop into your heart space. And call to mind that time that you can remember when you were patient with yourself. When you gave yourself enough time, enough space, enough resources for whatever it is that you wanted to happen. that time when you took a step back and you were able to allow divine order to really unfold. And as you continue to breathe, feel the tension go out of your neck and shoulders. Just allowing things to be as they are. Knowing everything you need will be provided. Every idea, every resource, the strength, the courage. God knows what we need before we do. So we patiently wait upon God and step into that place of receiving that divine guidance. So let us sit for just a moment in the silence, continuing to breathe. And come back to this time and this place, practicing patience with a willingness to continue to practice patience throughout this day and throughout this week. And to our very hurried world, we're going to sing once again and send our patience over the mountain. I send my patience over the mountains. I send my patience over the sea. I send my patience into the heavens. And it returns to me. And so it is, and so we let it be. Amen and amen. Let's make our closing circle. And let us sing our peace song.